Hello, welcome Diane for joining me today. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you, Kay. It's just so lovely to be here. Thank you.
I know, I'm really excited because I feel like it's going to be an hour of power. So we met through our mutual friend Sandy Bell at a Sacred Women's Circle late last year. And at the time when I met you, I told you, I think straight away, I felt an instant connection. I felt like we had met before, like this instant soul connection. It was such a beautiful feeling.
Yes, I recall that too. It was mutual.
Now, I wanted to start by asking you, how did your calling to this beautiful work find you?
How did it find me? It's an interesting question because my mind instantly goes back to being 15 and I'd had a Christian background. I'd been confirmed. I recall asking the pastor that was doing the confirmation lessons, how did Mary get pregnant then if she was a virgin? I was 12 at that time and waking to the body. And I recall this man blushing and looking down and saying, well, it's something you just have to accept. And he had no answer for me. He was really uncomfortable looking for an answer. And it was kind of at that point that I recall that Christianity, or that path, was not making sense for me. And within a couple of years, I recall following Hare Krishna chanters through town. So this was in New Zealand. And I started reading their the brochures that they were giving out, and it really made sense to me. I didn't take that any further with them, but it woke something in me. And then late teens, I recall speaking to Buddhists and just being fired somehow. My body, what I've learned now, I'm 65, and what I've learned is that my body is my best compass for truth. And I still rest in that now, that I can tell if something's for me or not for me, or if something's truth or not true, by the way my body responds. And it took me a long time to really listen to that. But it was still happening back then. So the pathway into this type of work was, I'd always been a dressmaker. I'd always made my own clothes, and after I had children, I made my own my children's clothes. And it was the big thing back in those days. This is the early 80s, to have your colours done. And being a dressmaker, I thought I knew it all, and I knew what clothes, I knew what colours worked for me. So I just wanted to find out what my colour range was, and then I'd be able to put my wardrobe together. So I went away with this, I booked in with this lady that was doing the colour analysis. This is the seasonal colour analysis, where you locate the group of colours that are most in harmony with your body colouring. Well, I sat down and spent an hour and a half looking at myself in the mirror, and it's a wonderful experience to spend that long just looking at yourself. It takes about 10 minutes to get past yourself and look at what's really there. And I was so wrong about the group of colours that I'd been wearing, so wrong. And I realised through the conversation with her that I'd actually been severely postnatal depressed. So that was quite severe. But I was still sewing and functioning and had all the masks on to make it look like life was wonderful and it was a happy family. And in this 1.5 hour session, I realised I'd been dressing to manifest my depression on the outside, and I was hiding myself. And a whole world of colour opened up to me that were going to really make me pop and shine. And the beauty of what happened then was that I found that I had a really natural eye for this. I could see everything this woman was pointing out to me without her pointing it out to me, before she was pointing it out to me. And long story short is that I ended up training with this company and spent 38 years working with colour analysis and helping women and men, but majority of it was women, to find that group of colours that's most in harmony with this amazing body that we've already been given. And, you know, without hair colour or makeup, just taking it back to what's already there, what we're born with, and understanding the genetics of where our colouring comes from. And I was really successful at it. But along the way, so my background before children was an electrical engineer in telecommunications. And it's such a long time ago that it's way back when we used to have crystal radio sets, and part of my training was around, you know, we studied crystals, in particular rose quartz and clear quartz, and the ability of crystals to transmit and translate frequency, because you could put phone calls through these crystal sets. And my mind loved this stuff, absolutely loved it. So 17 years down the track of doing colour analysis, and, you know, I have a young family, and I start to get more and more interested in how the vibration of colour and how our bodies are affected by light shining through the colours that we're choosing to wear.
Yep, that landed.
So my mind was actually, you know, when I look back, my mind was getting curious about colour therapy, because I was working with colour all the time, and the emotional effect of seeing someone step into creating a wardrobe that really worked in harmony for them, and you know, it wasn't about making them pop, it was about acceptance of what's already there, and having fewer things in the wardrobe that would all work together because they all had the same base colours or the same undertone to them, so they would all mix and match really well. And it was wise shopping, wise op shopping, however anyone was putting a wardrobe together, whether it was sewing, however they shopped or put a wardrobe together, but they would end up with a really wise collection that was going to work for them no matter what they chose. But I started to get really interested in the vibration and the healing qualities of colours. So along the way, along this time, I had started meditating and found it a really powerful connection to just get still inside, connection to self, really listening to what was going on in me. So in my meditations, I began to put it out there, or to ask, or to seek, to ask that something would come to me that was going to work for how I could bring healing with colour to others. Now, I was at a big spiritual expo in New Zealand, probably about 3 weeks after I'd started asking. And there was a group of people there they were displaying a device that created non-linear coloured light. You could change the filters on it, and they were using it for healing such things. It was already being used really widely in clinics in Europe. So it was far more widely accepted. It took years to be really accepted by the TGA for New Zealand and Australia. And another long story short, but I ended up training with this company and bought a couple of the devices, a really big one that and a very small one that's about the size of a hairdryer, and started offering these trainings to people. So the training had me be, you know, I was able to say I'm a light and colour therapist. So it was really working with light. These devices are fantastic for helping. It regenerates skin cells 3 times faster than they would heal naturally. They're used in burns clinics in particular, or they're amazing for children who've had things like meningococcal meningitis, when limbs are removed and there's dreadful pain after surgeries. Well, it can reduce the use of pain relief, and in particular in those cases morphine, to a quarter of what they would have been using in adults or in anyone. So this light therapy would help regenerate skin after burns, and there was no need to touch. So it could be done from a distance. And then there was the big jump to Australia when we moved from New Zealand to Australia. So I brought the devices with me. 4 years before we moved, I had spent 4 years, I'd been going to a closed circle with an amazing English woman who lived in my hometown in New Zealand. And the idea of her circle was psychic development and to experiment with a lot of different modalities or ideas and see what we fell into, what came naturally to us. And colour reading just fell out of me and understanding why people were drawn to certain colours, why I was drawn to certain colours, why our favourite colours change at different times. And in that group was a couple of women who during that 4 years had trained in Reiki, and I saw a huge difference in them, and it was really I want what they're having. And I just watched this beautiful shift in their awareness and the way their lives unfolded after that, and I didn't know where to go for that. So anyway, I'd had this 4 years that had woken me to a whole lot of amazing things. I found I was able to read people's energy by being with them. I found that I could feel the emotions that they were perhaps not expressing, where things were trapped in them. So I had this gentle awareness of where someone was denying themselves. And I also had magical opportunities to speak to people in ways that was able to come into the conversation. So after we came to Australia, we travelled in the caravan for a while, and I was doing colour readings and colour healings while we were travelling. And Sandy Bell was the connection. We ended up back on the Sunshine Coast for Christmas one year. And I started going to some meditation groups where I ended up connecting with Sandy Bell. And out of those groups also ended up meeting the woman who became my Reiki master. I trained all within 1 year, 2011. And it kind of unfolded from there. Started with Reiki. So it's an unfoldment, and you know, I'm still a becoming. I'm a beginning. I'm an unfoldment, and I'm just starting.
I love that you touch on that you're still evolving and growing. And
always. Do
you believe that is such an important part of our time here on Earth?
Yes. It's an indication of consciousness or awareness of who we are and who we are as a contribution to the community we find ourselves in, the family, our friends, you know, always an involvement of, it's important. It's important.
I love that, because that's how I feel in my life, and I try as much as possible to pay attention and keep an open heart for what is meant to come my way. And for the listeners that are listening today, I know a lot of them are searching and are possibly asking the question, well, what is coming my way? So what advice would you have for someone who is perhaps new to exploring spirituality but is really curious about it and doesn't know which way to go right now?
Ask, you know, sit quietly and ask. And the answers come. You know, I have this knowing that in asking, the universe has to answer. And even if several options end up laying before you, your body will let you know what feels right or wrong. So becoming familiar with what's right or wrong or for you, or a yes or a no, getting familiar with that, with the simplest of things, can be an indication of answer when you're looking for those bigger answers, especially in regard to spirituality, for people who have recently woken to what's happening in the world in this last few years, and who we are in that picture and how we respond to it. It's self-responsibility. It's our responsibility. The answers will come if you ask, and then your body will respond with a yes or no. So you can test what that might feel like for you by simply asking the simple questions, is my name, whatever your name is my name and someone else's name? And you'll feel your body respond with a yes or a no. It's the same as if you choose to use a pendulum, will respond in the same way. You will know what's true for you.
Very true. Very true. And I love how you explain that simple way of connecting with your body, asking a question that you already know the answer to, and then waiting for your body to respond to that. That's something actually I do integrate into my client healings. Is some of my clients will say to me, I don't know what feels right. I don't know. How do I know? And I will guide them into an experience they've already had that, say, is related to love or joy, and ask them where do you feel that in your body, and then guide them back to that's how your body communicates to you, because it's different for all of us.
Yes.
Very different. And I was sharing with you before we press record, that I was meditating before this call, and in my meditation, my whole body was vibrating with energy. And, that doesn't happen in every meditation for me. And so I think it's just recognizing what's happening to you and just going with it.
Yeah. Yes. And awareness of this amazing temple that we live in. It just brings you to a deeper connection with your body instead of looking for answers outside of us. There's that, you more and more come to that place of knowing, gosh, I've got everything here that I need. It's all here.
And it's very interesting how you're touching on the fact that all we need to do is ask. And I'd love to share an example in real time with my daughter of asking, well, technically not asking the universe, technically not asking the source. And she was speaking about wanting more working shifts where she's working. And she was actually leaning towards, well, perhaps do I look for work elsewhere, or what do I do? And I said to her at the time, I've seen the way you manifest. You're an amazing manifester. You're probably going to just attract this to you. Anyway, last night she says to me, Mum, my boss has put out some new shifts, and her boss has given her extra shifts without her even asking. And so that's a wonderful example of just shifting your intention and your energy to actually what you want. And she obviously is this clear channel for attracting that, because she feels good in that space. So that's a wonderful example of it actually happening, and it's tangible.
Yes, that's so beautiful, and proof for her.
I've watched her do it her whole life, Diane.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's wonderful. And these young ones, they so know. They just come in knowing that there's far more than we've been led to believe too.
Yes, and I'm realizing that, it's not fair for me to put my stories on them, right, like my experiences, because that's not necessarily their experience. So I'm trying as a parent to not say, well, this happened to me, therefore it's going to happen to you. Rather, how do you feel about what's going on for you, and what feels right for you, and let's take it from there.
Yeah, perfect. Wonderful mothering.
Not always easy, but I try. Now, for our listeners who are meeting you for the first time, you're based here on the Sunshine Coast. What kind of services do you offer that people can come and work with you if they resonate with you or want to meet you? How can they work with you?
So I tend to say I've got a lot of tools in my toolbox, if you want to put it that way. I've done a lot of different trainings over the years. And no matter what I've learned or who I've learned it from, it's still, when I deliver them, they're delivered through the frequency of me. So I will always deliver whatever it is differently to someone else, perhaps who's trained in Reiki. So I tend to say that if someone's feeling that they want to work with me, it's my job to locate what that soul's asking of me at that time. And it might be completely different to if they came to me 2 weeks later. But on the day that someone's coming to see me, it's my job to say, what do I have to offer this soul on this day? What is it? And it's my job to locate that, to feel into what's happening. So I could say that I offer Reiki, but Reiki sits in everything I do. I could say that I'm a colour therapist, but colour sits in everything I do. I'm a liquid crystals advanced practitioner, and liquid crystals sits in everything I do. I'm deeply emotionally intuitive. That sits in everything I do. So I've trained in basic holistic pulsing, and that often comes into what a body's asking of me. Some bodies ask to be touched, some to be left at a distance. So some want a reading, some want some clarity about who they are in this world. So it's kind of a range. It's a range of things, but if I could say what my work encompasses, it always comes back to their emotional world and who they are in there, or where they're denying themselves, or often a release of emotions. And it can, there's a million different emotions. It's not always about tears. It might be anger. I'm a perfect place for someone to scream if they need to, and I'll scream with them if they want to. But, yeah, emotional honesty. And I tend to have a space that allows someone to feel who they are as an emotional being and how that serves them.
I personally loved that when I came out to see you for my own personal energy healing, and I felt safe. I felt so safe, and I felt held to be able just to express whatever needed to be expressed. And I think that's such a beautiful gift that you have, you're so calm, and just your presence makes me feel nurtured. Thank you. It's just gorgeous. And I know that when I do have a question. I know when I had my energy healing with you, towards the end of the healing, I looked up and I saw you, and I said this at the time, morph into, we're going deep now, morph into what looked like a man for me. And I asked you about it, and I wanted to dive into that here because it might be the first time that some listeners have even heard of what I saw. And it's happened to me a few times now in circles where I see this in other people. And the first time I was like, what did, because your mind questions what you see sometimes. So what was it that I saw? Can you explain that to me?
Well, first of all, I often don't know that anything's changing, but I feel the presence. So very often in those healings, light language will flow through me. And that when light language is there for me, it's like I've got out of the way and the vibration of the air, the healing has gone to a whole different level. And I've called in our collective guides and helpers. I've called in any of the other helpers who have wanted to be present for that time. And it's like they're doing the stuff that I am not able to do. It's, for me, it's a sense of having got out of the way. And I feel sometimes the presence of those people, those entities, those beings that are speaking. I don't feel my physicality change, but I feel their presence in me. So I suppose it's a raw form of channeling. I don't like to give it a name. It just happens. And I know that magic happens in those moments. There's one presence that comes in frequently when someone needs a kick in the butt. And she's this beautiful, tiny Japanese woman who lived around the early 1800s. She's told me a little bit about herself, but she usually comes in when someone needs a bit of a kick or a boot to get moving. And she tells people off, and she's given me her name. So I don't always get the names of them, but whenever I say it, she's told me I'm always to say it 3 times when I say it. So her name is Kwansado, Kwansado, Kwansado. And she works through me and with me when someone needs a little bit of a push to get moving. And she tells people off. It's so funny when she comes in, you can feel her. It's like a grandmother saying, get off your butt. And so it's kind of that energy. She's just gorgeous. So I don't feel anything physically, but I can certainly feel their presence, and I feel their language come through me.
Yes,
so I think that guy had a language,
light language
with him,
when I had a healing with you. Yes.
Yeah. And often I don't remember anything afterwards. It's momentary. It might last a couple of minutes, but it's beautiful. It's a beautiful experience, and certainly nothing to be scared of. So, we were talking before about other people who are freshly awake. Sometimes these are the sort of experiences they can go, oh, that sounds a bit spooky. But when it happens to you, it's just such an experience of love. And again, it's my compass of truth. It's truth and good and light.
I know for myself, I just have an open heart, because so many of the experiences are new. And there are a lot of times where I'm like, oh, I never knew about that. And it's just about learning. And like you said, it's using your body as a compass. And if it feels good in the moment, then maybe that's an indication that we're okay. Just to witness, like I didn't understand what language you were speaking at the time, and I just accepted it for what it was at the time, and I didn't need to analyze it. I just trusted.
Yeah, I don't analyze it either, and because I work mostly in the emotional realm, there's the feeling that goes with it. Sometimes I have a brief interpretation after it once someone's off the bed and we're talking about it. It's just going with the flow. Usually the person that I'm working with has experienced something that is way outside of what I've been experienced while I'm delivering it. That's what they're there for. That's what they've come to me for, is whatever that turns up to be.
That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful to hear. When I came back from I have to apologize, my printers decided to start talking to us while I am speaking to you. So when I got home from my healing with you and shared that experience with, as I told you before, technology, when I'm recording podcasts, just like the universe is like, we're just going to test you here. How calm are you really, Kay? When I shared the experience that I had with my daughter when I came home, she was just like, book me in. Oh, I'd like to go and see Diane. And then she has one of her besties comes to my Teen Goddess circle, and she's like, and my girlfriend wants to come too. So I promised them that when you relocate, to in your new home, that I will take them, bring them to come and see you.
Exciting.
How exciting is that?
Yeah, that is exciting. I love working with young people. They're I just love working with young people. And
They're incredible.
Love it. Yeah. Yes.
Now, when I came to my healing, and I've got it here, you gifted me one of your beautiful sacred sprays, Toy. And so I wanted to chat to you about your sacred sprays first. So do you want to share with us how they come to be and what we actually use them for?
Yeah, so a little bit of the backstory. Part of the training that I did was with an amazing woman, where this was week-long courses at a time, where we dived really deep into inner child healing. It was part of what we were doing. And this inner child healing was profound for me, absolutely profound. And it really shifted. It gave me a whole different perspective of the beliefs that had been driving my bus. The bus of my life had been driven. I was in the back seat, and these beliefs were driving my bus. They were influencing many of my major decisions, especially in my business and the way I would deliver myself to people, especially when I stood to speak. But these beliefs were still playing in the background, and as if they were true. And when I got to explore them, I realized they were actually no longer true. So over these courses, we spent a lot of time crying and releasing huge emotions to parents, teachers, all of these wounds that we'd been carrying for many years. It was a long, painful process of working through these wounds and fully experiencing the pain and shame and guilt of these experiences, especially in the first few years. We were working with ourselves up to 18 perhaps, but most of my stuff was sitting around year 6, year 7, age 6 or 7. And this work became so profound that I started to deliver some of this into the work that I was offering others. And the more I did it, the more I realized that there was a particular frequency about the moment that we recognize that those beliefs are no longer true. And that it didn't have to take weeks and weeks. There was a frequency, there was a sacred geometry that this sits in, this moment had for anyone. Those moments that we recognize that something that we thought was true is no longer true. And that frequency could be captured as energy, as color, as a crystal, and that I could translate it. So I started teaching my own form of inner child healing using much briefer processes than a whole week or 2 weeks with a teacher. And I trialed it on a group that I had coming to my home weekly. And we trialed it over a month, and I took them through these processes, and it was so profound for those trials that I decided to create it as a workshop. And in the meantime, Spirit was showing me how I could capture that as a frequency in physicality, literally in a bottle, so that when we were working with those beliefs and other beliefs that were coming up after the course, we could do the processes ourselves. And we've seen this boom over the world in the last 5, 6, 7 years of people wanting to work really deeply to heal the inner child wounds so they could be more fully complete with who they are now. Now, this is not about laying blame on anyone. It's about the power of those beliefs to flavor our decisions as an adult. And by dissolving those beliefs at their point of creation, we've now got this canvas to start painting what is true for us, that we can live in and live into. the greatest canvas that we can live into and create is I am. And if we've had a belief before that, that's been, so for me, mine was I'm ugly. Now there's always a story. There's always a story with it. I also had sitting under that was nobody wants to believe and nobody wants to hear what I have to say. Now that's very common, especially in women. But it's very common, that belief, nobody wants to hear what I have to say. And there's, like I say, there's always a story out of that. And it's always deeply painful when we visit that story. But it's just as painful when we realize how that belief has been playing out in our lives. The beauty that's created after those are dissolved. Suddenly I realized that this is my passion, is this, helping people who are ready to look at that, to look at what those beliefs are, and they've had enough. Usually someone comes to me and they've had enough of going round and round in circles. So usually this shadow stuff, we'll call it a shadow, that's been playing out, is based in our inner child beliefs, those things that we've taken on to be true about our world. And it might not be something that we've heard, it might be something that we've taken on by osmosis from our community. It could be about what we've heard at school. It could be just something that we believe about our world because that's the way we live. It can be community, religion, family, school, the place you live. Any of those things can influence what we believe about our world. But when those things hang on and are still driving us as adults, there comes a point where we've had enough of going over the same old ground. So I love the beauty of what I created out of that into a workshop and then doing the one-on-one. So I've done years of one-on-one inner child work. And the release, this is where I took on what I could perhaps call shape-shifting. The difference, and shape-shifting's been given a bad name by Hollywood. We have this idea that shape-shifting is about wolves or wolverines or people moving through walls and appearing in the sides of houses, or popping into a room to scare us, or someone morphing from a beautiful looking person into a bear, but shape-shifting is when we become so much lighter, when the weight is lifted. There's literally a change in the countenance of someone. Our face, our body, the way we hold it, that's shape-shifting. When the weight of those beliefs dissolves, I see this, and I have a mirror in my room. I say, have a look at yourself. Have a look at what you look like now. And that's the beauty of seeing this shift from people's shoulders, from their countenance, their face. It moves. That's
and I
real
guess on the
shape-shifting.
most basic level, we see it in ourselves on a daily basis. Some mornings we wake up fully energized, and we see when we look at ourselves in the mirror, and hopefully we look ourselves in the mirror and say hello, and we can see it in our face, our energy levels and how we feel. So on the most basic level, we're seeing it every day, in ourselves and in the people that we interact with as well. When we think about it,
we do. Yeah.
Wow.
And you can see it in others. Yeah.
So these beautiful sprays.
So out of that, I created the inner child spray, and it's activated. So I was shown how to activate these so that they're activated on the sacred geometry that's held within the bottle. And the liquid crystals and the oils that relate to those liquid crystals. So there's a fragrance with each of these sprays, but they're mostly about the energies of them. Usually when we use a spray, we want to sniff it. We want a smell to come with it. So I've been shown they're inspired recipes, all of these, where I'm shown how many bottles to make in each batch, what date they're to activate on, how many days they sit on the altar to activate. And I thought that the inner child spray would be it. I never dreamed that there would be another one after that. I thought that was perfect. It just went so well with what I work. But the more I work with people around inner child healing, the more we come to see that the feminine and masculine aspects of the self has been way out of balance, and there's a call to bring that back into balance so that we're not functioning, the habit of functioning out of that unbalance that's from the inner child belief will play out in how we can either move forward in the world, how we can get on and create structure in what we want to be doing or creating with our world, or how we allow the world and abundance and life and love to flow towards us. That can be out of balance. So then it was like, oh, of course, the feminine and masculine. And then as soon as I saw that, I was instantly shown the recipe for each of those sprays. So here I was with the inner child spray, the feminine, say the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And it was like all in the same sentence I was hearing. And of course, there's a divine relationships, because as you work with these three, you come into a deeper and more full relationship with self and with your higher self and with your connection to, or your connection or conversation with whatever you might call it, God, source, universe, whatever that is for you, that becomes more full. And there was a frequency around that. So then I thought, oh, it's like a family. There's an inner child and a sacred feminine, sacred masculine, and the relationships. And I thought that was it. There was 4, and I called it the family. Just jumping forward to now, there are now 17 in the range.
Wow.
There are 17 of these sprays, and every single one of them has had a very profound personal experience that goes with it. None of them have come through without me being able to fully embody the medicine that they bring. Some of them have been painful, so I know that the potency of them. So I've created a lot of people who are working with them or using them personally, using them in healings or personally, want to know more about the story and the medicine that goes into them. So I've created a workshop that it's a 3-hour workshop that explains that to people. So you literally experience the healing as we go through the story of them. And for me, it's I get emotional just thinking about it, because I've been given this gift to embody these frequencies that support others on their healing journeys.
Oh, that just gives me full body goosebumps.
I've got goosebumps talking about it. To own this and well, to coin a phrase, to be a channel for this and have these beautiful products go out to the world, and the team that helps me create these, the people that I buy the bottles from, the beautiful soul sister that creates the labels for me, the art for the labels, and the wonderful women that run the business that make the stickers for my labels, and the sourcing of the oils that go into them. They all contain liquid crystals, and the magic of that whole modality of liquid crystals and how that they support us minerally and vibrationally and frequency. What those as liquid crystals bring to us. Yeah, so just in the last 2 weeks in that eclipse, I was finally given the go-ahead to release the latest spray, which is Infinite Love. Oh. And I know, and it holds the frequency of the embodiment, the declaration, I am the embodiment of love, I am the embodiment of light, I am the embodiment of truth. And so there's a story that goes with all of those 17 sprays. And I love telling those stories. So another thing that I've accepted about myself is I'm a storyteller. And the stories that go with those sprays give other people permission to tell their stories about the magic that's going on for them, because there's some incredible stuff going on for people and what they're hearing, what they're creating, what's coming through, and people who are listening for their world. I call this range of sprays Sacred Sprays for Conscious Living, because every one of them is about a different form of awareness of our world and who we are being, and how we can choose that awareness of self, of community, the collective and who I am in the collective, what I have to offer into that.
For anyone that may be interested in purchasing a spray or some of the sprays, what's the best way that they can connect with you to do that?
So I'm happy for people to call me if they want to. So we'll put my phone number up with this if you like. I'm happy to put a phone number up, or the easiest way and the way that I get most of my orders is through my website, which is diannegraham.com.au, Diane with 2 N's. So D-I-A, you'll put the link up for that too, won't you?
I will.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Or through my Facebook page, Dianne Graham.
And do you still offer the workshop?
Yes,
workshop?
and that's, yes. So I haven't got dates set for that. It's usually when someone's interested. I have quite a few shops or other healers that are selling them, and they'll often be selling them to other people as well. So I'm happy to look at people who are interested in purchasing them at wholesale and have them available in their rooms. But very often what I'll do is they find that they know people who are interested, and I'll go to their home and do the 3-hour workshop with them, or go to their shop and talk to clients or their customers in the shop about the sprays.
Well, put my name down. I'd love to come to a workshop, Diane.
Oh, great. So really, as you said before, I'm relocating. So I'm going to be in a much more conducive space to be offering that workshop in my home, and happy to take that out to other locations too. Oh,
that is so exciting. So exciting. And are there any other beautiful offerings so besides the workshops and sacred sprays, people can reach out for healings? And is there any other way that they can work with you or connect with you?
Sure. I'll just say too that I post the sprays all over the world. And also I offer online healing sessions. So that's worked really well when people have not been able to travel, or even in other states in Australia. That's worked really well too. Either FaceTime or Zoom.
Beautiful. So you can work with anyone. Anyone,
work
anywhere.
Anyone who
across the
feels
world.
called to me. Yeah.
And I have listeners from all over the world. So let me know when they reach out.
I will. Thank you.
Now, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I feel like it's been a gift to my soul to have this chat with you. And I know it's going to be a gift to every listener's soul who listens to this audio today. So thank you so much. I'm going to include all the information for you to be able to connect with Dianne below the show notes, if everywhere that I post this on socials. So you will be able to find her. If not, reach out to me and I will share the links with you, Dianne's phone number with you if you want to connect with her direct. Thank you so much, Dianne.
Oh, bless. Been beautiful. Thank you, Kay.